Everybody watching now.
Confused on the sign. Is that a new thing we're gonna do is sign everything? We're signing, how come what are we signing for?
This is a approval,
Yeah,
you know, you find that
yeah,
thing for approval. That's what that. I'll brush. Yeah, there's something we started with last year.
Yeah, I don't remember signing.
like a regular case, but like a subdivision or condos,
Then it's,
yeah.
when you know, it says, hey, we approve this, vote. Or approve the minutes, it doesn't that kind of put all the same.
The document, right?
Yeah,
We have
do you want
to
it?
subdivision, because that has to go to the registry.
Yeah, we all sign that.
Oh, gosh.
Change. I don't.
I mean,
I'm not sure why.
I don't,
It would be neat.
see, that's the thing too, it's signed, like,
You have no.
review all of that before I sign it
Sorry,
now.
what was that?
Because it. The board is asking why we're signing some.
Oh, did it get passed down? I'm not sure. Isabel just told me that. Let me,
When that, your turn is.
why can I
Well,
not?
it would be unique for us to sign that we approve. We've never done that before for individual cases. We approved a lot of different homes and individual family
That
homes.
goes to.
Subdivisions, we have to sign because those are the registry deed at the state. But then we signed for the hotel because that was a change. I mean, if they get that the state requirement. This would be something that we would be putting.
Yeah, this is an optional thing for sure.
Unless the lawyer came in the last month and said we must. I don't know, it seems a little weird.
This isn't showing.
It could be, yeah, it could be that Isabel wants to protect everything that she does. It wants to make sure that it's all approved.
Maybe they do that in other towns
It could be.
commonly.
We've approved it, there's all the stipulation.
Yeah.
Including whatever we said.
But it's already adopted in the minutes that it was approved from that meeting. So to me, it's like, once we approve those minutes,
But this will go into the file
the minutes do
and,
it.
and it's good, but you can't always find it there. And sometimes the minutes don't have all. I don't think it's a
Well, anybody object to signing?
I wasn't here, so I can't say.
Well, yeah, at least.
If we start here, you should be consistent.
That's all right.
Right, we're gonna start
Moving.
Well, that's it. So if this is. It's just on the partnership for. 10 more.
My question would be also, do they not get the building permit until we sign this? Is that something that holds up the homeowner? I would not think so either. Maybe it's just for the record. So maybe some clarification on that.
Get it done. Wow.
Totally.
That-
Do not sit there and stress out.
also-
Don't.
Yeah.
The three members.
Once this gets signed off. Does it usually show up on this?
Yeah, it's supposed to.
It looks like,
Is it connected? We had an
Yeah.
issue with the connection. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Okay. Don, you want me to put it in? Call me, you order?
Oh.
Okay, good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wonder if I know this. So it's not just my name.
Maybe the little. I don't know what those holes. Or not.
Do you see what I mean?
I go down to the.
I don't want just my name.
Post. Try more. What's under video if you just click on the right?
I think it just takes the video.
I don't know.
Auto frame? No.
I feel like there's gotta be a way to toggle the little
Yeah.
thing to make it, escape or double click to exit from. No,
Weird.
try that. No,
I'll just make it bigger.
yeah.
Tracy.
That's about as big as it's gonna get,
I
but
think it's fine. Probably everybody else sees it normally on their side. It's
Yeah,
just us
it's-
looking at it.
yeah.
Ready
I-
to roll call?
Yep.
You got it.
Taylor Korea.
You got it right there.
Okay.
Present. Present. Gregory Stewart.
Sure, present.
Tracy Holdings, president.
There you go.
There's a lot of photos.
Okay, remind me, we definitely have a floor, who's the alternate? Right. We have, someone. We got Shane, Tracy's not.
Did all those.
I want to read it first before I put a signature on it. Yeah.
Okay, that's on 7/29.
And then I'll let you.
On the motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for July 29, 2001.
Good second.
I'll second.
Any second. Made a minute. Discussion, errors, omissions. All in favor?
I'm gonna take them out back. If I leave before the meeting's done, okay.
Okay. Here, I'm done. If you want, do you want this too?
One demand. We do be checking for, you have that, you have it,
I have that to call.
is everybody read it, do I have to read it?
Right.
I'll get it. I can get it.
You guys.
Bye.
Me too.
They were all screwed.
In fact, the sketch plan discussion, July 8, subdivision application material was submitted. Required $100 application fee, item was placed on July 20 agenda. Meeting was properly noticed to the public, application material was circulated. The board was authority to review. And with the zoning ordinance, Articles 2, Articles 3, 11, Table 1 and 3, Articles 4.12, Articles 4.14. The application was accepted as substantially complete. Site visit was held on July 8th. The board held properly notice public hearing on July 8th. The applicant submitted an amended application package as requested. On July 26th, the board reviewed amended materials on July 26th. Property 104 Mall Drive, the property currently contains a single-family house that was built in 1948. 0.25 acres, 10,894 square feet, 142 feet of short frontage. Existing house is located approximately 49 feet from normal high water line on Marana Lake. We had to deal with the non-conforming aspect, which relates to being 100 feet from shore. High water, family homes are permitted use within the shoreline district. With food approval of the code enforcement. Description of proposed use of the property with completed applications. No change in the use. Proposal was construct an additional 20 by 12 deck. Article 2 talks about being non-conforming, I'll read that. Section, unless somebody wants it. Section 9C1C. Structure is located less than 75 feet on the high water. Basically, this is why we're involved with it. And the lot has 20.239% impervious coverage. Article 3, 11, table 1 and 3, land use in shoreline zone, dimension requirements. No changes proposed to use the land. Article 4.12, long standards. At the July 29, 2026 meeting, planning board approved the application subject to following conditions. The approval is limited to proposal and plan containing the application and support documents submitted by the applicant. Any variation for these plans, from these plans require review, written approval by the planning board required incomplete. Any violation of this approval condition thereon shall be enforceable by a code enforcement officer. 3, the applicant is required to submit erosion sediment control plan to the code enforcement officer showing erosion control measures to be installed and maintained during construction that meet the specifications contained in the manufacturing and environmental protection erosion sediment control best management practice manual, October 2016, or most revised edition. And everybody that was present signed. Any questions about that? I don't think there's any formal action. We did that. So we're gonna move on to 5, discussion of the following. Does everybody have a copy of Greg's work? Thank you, Greg. Which one was just this?
The data set made it more straightforward and further along, so I think I'd rather start with that.
So, there's some start to draft, take it in. And the intent, the intent is for us to look at it, to draft and then, and Greg is looking for feedback. Something we don't like, something you do like, something you want to add. That's what he's looking for. So once he's through his presentation, then I'll start over here with you and we'll go around the room. Sure.
Just to highlight some of the changes that I made based on our last discussion. I added zoning restriction of data centers, so that's section 3, zoning restrictions. Data centers are only allowed in the industrial zone. They're strictly prohibited from all of this. So that's an important one to pay attention to. That's a pretty significant change. Section 4.1, the lot size, I increased from 20 acres to 40 acres. That was again a discussion point we had. This would be 3 weeks ago when we had a meeting. And again, like Rick said, I'm not projecting these as our answers. I'm just saying we discussed it so we could change anything. So the acoustical noise, I left the same. Building design to number 3 in section 4. I added a building design aesthetics at the bottom. I added the buffer area. That's almost a direct copy out of our solar ordinance. So it's got all 3 bullets. Also added a view shed analysis and a visual impact. So that, the visualization is going to be an important piece. And then I added section 6, which is application requirements. That's all new, and a lot of that is almost a straight copy with some modifications from our solar ordinance of some of the things we would expect them to show up from. And basically it's 3 points, their site description, just a lot of detail about what their project is actually doing, so that they're not going to show up and be like, we're doing a data set. Well, what does that mean? So just trying to get them a lot of information. If we want some maps, we want where the vegetation, driveways, the parking, curb cuts, we want to see all that. The project proponent. So we had a lot of problems with solar ordinances with people. It would be like an LLC and then it'd be a representative of an LLC if we weren't sure who was actually the owner and who was actually going to oversee and manage them. So that's what that section is trying to grab onto. And then utility connection, so specifically for connecting to public water or to power. So those are the 2 highlights there. So everything else was basically the same or similar to what I had before with a couple editorial changes. It needs some formatting. I just was updating the text. So if the bullets of the text is slightly different fonts, I haven't put it all together. I haven't gone and cleaned that up, and I haven't made it 501 compliant either. So that's
Aaron, did you have a copy? I forgot to ask you. Steven, that was you.
Yeah,
Where we're at.
yeah, I think that, the only question I have is, maybe, do we want to add a clarification or specify that, the purpose and intent is also, in addition to the four you've already listed, to ensure the continuing or ongoing comfort of community residents? It doesn't, it's maybe implied by some of the other language, but I think it might be worth.
I could restate, it says ensure compatibility with surrounding residential and commercial land use.
Yeah,
It doesn't
compatibility
say,
is a little.
you think that's solid? Okay.
I can see.
Is it, you're saying comfort? Or what else do you think?
Right now, that's the closest word I would come to, but I mean, I'm only looking at this for a few minutes, but I just think that one of the key reasons, or one of the key purposes, is to ensure the ongoing comfort of people who live here.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that we don't give too much wiggle room to get around.
So
Otherwise, I think it's really, I was afraid this wouldn't be restrictive enough, but I think it is.
What are you talking about, comfort?
Well, like
Audio.
noise, smell, congestion, anything that is gonna affect the people who live here. I don't really know. I've never even been near one yet. But I've heard
Me
that
neither.
people don't like them and when I'm trying to think about
I
why.
was just thinking comfort's a pretty, word, maybe we should
That's just my.
give some examples.
Take what you can get, but leave the rest.
So I mean, it's a soft word no matter how you write it, but I just changed. I think the end is a little bit weak, so whether we use compatibility or comfort, ensure compatibility either way with surrounding residents, land use, residences, businesses, and land use. So it's really focused a little more on the people and less on, because right now it's basically
Just residential.
and commercial land uses.
Yeah,
That's the land uses, that's not the people themselves. So maybe if you move it more to the people. I don't think a lawyer would say there's much difference between compatibility and comfort. It's still a soft word, no matter how you do it. I'm fine with either. I do like comfort because it does imply that everybody's kind of happy,
Mhm.
rather than compatibility, which is more like, well, I can do it, but.
we can get along.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
And the other percent, the surrounding people I have.
Right, well, that's why I tried to say, but also the businesses as well. So it's not just, they don't have to necessarily, they could be renting that building, but if they're a business and they're operating there, I would think we want to know, because if that's going to impact their business, they should have a say, whether they're the building owner or not. That's where I like land uses, because maybe it's the beach, or maybe it's a park, or maybe it's a public space. I think everybody has something to say about that. So.
I think you're also.
Yep.
Right. Tell us where you're at.
Sure, setbacks and buffers, we talked about, it's gonna be in an industrial zone. This is just a general question. Are there any lots that are zoned industrial that are 40 acres in size?
Oh, my question.
Okay,
There are multiple lots.
that would have to be combined, right?
Right, there's actually a vacant lot that's 22 acres.
Does it have another vacant lot of,
It has many other
18?
lots around it that are
Uh-huh.
very wooded,
okay,
and there's a solar field that's going in on one of the lots. But,
so they could technically still build is the question.
yeah,
They
there's
could,
plenty of open
okay.
space for that.
But I'm curious in, I haven't done math with a 500 buffer.
It adds another almost.
What does that shrink down? Does that mean you have to?
They have to own it though, the buffer has to be on their side, so that means they.
What does that restrict them to build?
Oh, yeah, they still would have 27 acres or something like that.
I didn't run that.
Yeah, I did the math out. It depends on the shape of the lot. If you got a, super long little strip, yeah, you're gonna be in trouble. You wouldn't be able to build a home. It's gotta be somewhat square.
And there's just a very limited area where it's, there are any residential.
There's not much out there in the residential, in the industrial zone.
Yeah. Other than that, the buffer area on number 3, and 1, if you look at screening buffer, it just seems to be, I had to read it several times, didn't know if it conflicted with one another. When you look at 50-foot buffer, minimum 8 foot tall, and then down below, you know, the vegetative buffer consistent with native growth every 20 feet. So I just want to make sure those two.
Could take that one out in one. I was thinking, I guess, against the parking area, but maybe that's.
Just to be
It's not
consistent between the two.
Yeah.
You know, there were feeling that says you gotta do, you know.
Yeah, you're right.
Redundant.
It is probably redundant because it does match some of the buffer area that I had.
Just another general question, you know, we're asking for a view shed analysis and a visual impact. But they're already in the industrial zone. Isn't that the intent of putting places like this is in the industrial zone?
Absolutely. I think just the view shed analysis, just like we did with solar, if you go up on the top of Mount Pisgah, you may see it. But it's also, I don't know the terrain. I didn't really look at the terrain in the industrial zone. If it slopes away and it happens to be kind of on a hill, you could potentially see it. And is that a visual impact to people? I think it's something worth looking at. I don't think it's a very hard lift. You've already got the terrain data to do a view shed analysis. I think it's just something we want to say, can you see this? And if you can, where can you see it from? And
I can appreciate that, but I just bring up, I can tell them this is where we want you to go.
Yep.
And then you gotta do, you know, these other.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that.
It's also the point of it is to minimize how large it would be. So like if they wanted a Walmart size thing, we would be like, that looks awful on our view shed analysis. But if it was only part of it, we could use our thing to be like, that's not so
I
bad.
guess I was really leaning into the height. It's
Yeah.
allowed to be 65 feet tall in industrial.
Yeah.
Trees aren't gonna grow. I mean, some trees do, but not a lot of trees are gonna grow that tall. So you will see this from other locations.
Mhm.
Assuming they build it that tall, maybe they build it 10 feet tall, I don't know. I've seen some of the data center pictures and some of them are, they look like massive bricks that are 80 feet, 70 feet, or maybe 65, but that's what our one.
But one of my thoughts with the view shed analysis is to protect one of our attractions to the town. Mount Pisgah is a popular hiking spot that draws people to town. So, you know.
I understand
yeah.
that, but we.
Right.
That's why there's zone that, said, you know, this is
Mhm.
where.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and the last thing is, this is paying homage to my grad student, grad college career, communications professor. Under B, section 5B, emissions, all emergency generated.
Yeah.
Just remove all alls.
Yes.
And I read the original draft with a lot of alls.
So I thought, I did search for that. I must not have got them all. I just had to use the word all, just. That time I could remove it. Right?
Yeah, and the only other thing, I think we talked about this previously, Greg, is, the decibel ratings. They're much lower than OSHA required.
Yes.
Decibel.
Yeah. I mean, I did go back and look at it. They're all over the map. Just so you know, I mean, there's a lot of concern that I read was the animal. You know, that they can hear those frequencies a lot different than people. And so it's not like you're damaging anybody, but it's more, I know it's in the industrial zone, which we don't limit sound. So, but if this butts up against something that's not an industrial zone, which it probably is gonna have to. So I kind of looked at it and I'm not saying they're right. I'm not opposed if everybody at the board says, hey, we want to raise them. I'm just saying there's definitely justification to go low, that low and lower, and then justification to go higher. They're way higher than the OSHA standards. They're not causing any damage. It's more of a, let's call it an annoyance or a, can you even hear it range?
But it's a residential property, and there are, as I said earlier, there's very limited.
It is gonna be, I mean, it would take some development in that back, and another road and things like that before that would really come develop.
So, Jeff, in the general commercial, is there residential properties in the general commercial? There are.
Grandfather,
Does it stretch all over to
yeah. Just like that.
So in those cases, if they're in a general commercial, if there's a residential property, does that fall under residential requirements here?
I don't think we'd have to go with so. That was
So
my, I think, that's my guess. Somebody could say that they think I'm wrong, but I would think zoning, legally zoning would be required. If it's zoned, you could put a house in industrial, there's nothing that says you can't. But just, you gotta expect more noise, more big trucks, more whatever, it's industrial.
Mm.
And in the rural, you kind of have to expect anything. Because anything kind of go full once.
Classic here is the Portland jet.
Yeah.
All the residences built around there over the years, now they want to change, they want to get rid of it.
What's the DOT? How many times we feel with people that move to the railroad tracks?
Yeah.
You know, a train came.
They cross it 3 times a day, right? What's that doing?
Yeah, no more like.
Basic.
In section 1, I was wondering if we'd have to think about adding, not just for, people's comfort, but also that they have for basement area, that's anything of interest.
I was leaving it land use would be applicable for open space,
Mhm.
anything that requirement. That's why, yeah, land use is one of those very generic kind of coverages.
And then we're talking about 500 feet for a setback for any residential zone district. If we're talking about something this big. And standard for that zone, the 500 feet, or is that?
There is no standard, and what it says, they have to own 40 acres, they have to make the buildings smaller. They
Right.
can't use the 40 acres,
Mhm.
they have to keep the vegetated, so the 500 foot has to be on their side of the property. Which means if somebody built on the other side, just like what happened across from Charlie's Motor Hall, they put a solar farm.
Mhm.
And the landowner was really upset because they were saying, the fence is gonna be 40 feet from their house, it's like, but they own that.
Mhm.
So and we just have a vegetated buffer, we would have, they would then had 40 feet plus 50-foot vegetated buffer, they would have had some space between the two. In this case, they could put the fence right on the property line, like that.
Right.
So that's a vegetated buffer, this is not a vegetated buffer, this is just a buffer off the property.
Mhm.
So they can't build that, they still need a vegetated buffer, but they can't build that close to the property. So it does limit the size of the building, but it still could be a pretty fast build if a lot of stuff work.
Right. The only other thought is, I know you've looked at there from a lot of different communities. Is the 90 days post construction something you saw pretty typical, or was that? That seems like a long time for people to be followed by that noise before it's being looked into, and then would it take for the?
If they get it to be smaller,
Like 3 months is a long time to listen.
You're gonna,
go 30.
I was thinking 30, yeah, I mean. Hopefully they would. Kind of have that in the back of their mind, so. I think that, yep, that's all I have.
Oh, okay, so,
I'll
first is under building designs and aesthetics, 3. I don't know this much about, I don't know what could potentially change in the future either. Would there be any hot or dangerous equipment on the exterior, say if neighborhood kids are walking through, and could they touch anything like any of these water cooling? Could there be something hot on the outside that they could touch? I don't know. I don't know if we want to consider adding some sort of verbiage in about that. Yeah, on the exterior of the building on the property. Yeah.
Cooling pillars or mechanical components must be fully enclosed with screen that matches the main building. Has to be screened, it can't be the broad cooling tower.
Okay.
So I don't know enough of how they would build it, how they would
I don't either.
engineer the cooling tower.
Okay.
And that's something we could definitely be part of when they show us the plan. And say, you can't have this, and we're asking them to tell us how they're gonna fence the property, how are they gonna protect the property?
Okay.
I can tell you that the ones I've seen, the ones in Virginia, they look like it's Fort Knox.
Okay,
I mean, there are razor wire, big fences, they are highly protected.
okay.
So again, that's just some of the images I.
Yeah, equipment enclosure seems, I guess
So
that
I'm
would
not-
make
I'm not
sense.
worried about children walking by when you have. It looks like a president. Yeah, well,
Right.
it's gonna be pretty hard to walk by. You know,
Yeah.
they're heavily fenced and secured with cameras and they cleared back. That was one of the reasons we put the vegetative buffer, because I think they want the sight line, so they clear way back from the fence so they can see people trying to sneak in and cut the fence. Oh, yeah, these are a lot of very expensive equipment.
So they're not gonna wanna have anybody to be able to get to anything anyway. Okay,
The data center is storing data. And that's all should be secure and.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Inaccessible and
Mhm.
and then now back to food power. All one out of us. The hot water, well, the source of heat, the hot water is always sprayed up. And then the convection from the air in the bottom, creating the natural convection up is cooling the water, so.
But we're not gonna allow that.
Nothing hot there is.
No, I'm saying they can't have open.
No, it has to be closed loop system, absolutely. Yeah, they can't use the air and spray it. No,
Wouldn't it be exterior,
So my point is,
probably?
there would be an exterior.
no, but
Okay.
I mean, the cooling tower could be something where they have a holding tank before they put it back into the ground or something like that with heat sinks. It's not gonna be open to the air, it's gonna be a closed loop system. But again, you know, it could be like a, you know, like a geothermal pump system that has a storage capability and they can run circulator wire, you know, they'll have some kind of tank and they'll have hoses and different, you know, piping inside running their water through, so they'll take the heat out and put it into the water will never touch each other, the cooling liquid will never touch the water. It's heat exchange, it's a multi-layer heat exchange.
Not to mention, we've really exposed what kind of heat to the outside temperature.
Exactly.
Wintertime.
Yeah. Right.
The only other thing I wanted to know, if this is gonna be an independent ordinance, do we wanna add copies? How many copies and sizes of copies for site plans that we would want to have listed?
Good.
So whatever I think we did it somewhere else to just copy and insert that in. What was the other one? Oh, and then this is definitely for all the moms that have babies that go to bed at 8 o'clock. I feel like the timing, 10 PM is kind of late. Maybe like even a 9 PM if there's some crazy noises. Is it gonna actually matter? I don't, probably not, but, and then again, between 10 and 7 shall not exceed any residential property line, maybe a little bit earlier.
I mean, again, those ones hopefully won't hear.
Hopefully, yeah, I guess. I don't understand any of that.
Our.
And then do I trust what they tell me anyway?
What? I mean, it's 6 PM.
Mhm.
So
But we did it when we did the quarry one, the quarry ordinance, we ended stuff earlier.
we have, I mean, that's right next. The quarter, the decibel levels were over 100.
Mhm.
These are 40 and 50. So these are going to be very hard to even hear. I'm not saying if you want to
Yeah.
change time, we change time.
Just a thought to bring up. I'm always cautious about noise driving people crazy.
10 just to match our sound.
Yeah, that's-
But
that's
then I
what
changed it to 7, so. it's
Yeah.
like,
I think we should go on.
Yes, what else did I have? I did the fencing. I did the copies. There was something else I was gonna ask. Oh, does like, that's what it was, like a fire emergency plan, I saw the emergency water plan. Was there anything about fire, or would that just fall underneath of what they would have to do
I can copy that out.
and just insert?
Certainly, fire department, woodworks department, when a permit like this comes in front of us,
Yeah.
Don would always circulate those with all.
Mhm.
Is that circulate
Yeah.
really all the town departments.
I don't know what it would go under.
Well, I think it's just a simple requirement that we have in solar.
Yeah. Cause the emergency water plan's under water usage and conservation, so I don't know, wherever.
We have a conservation district, depends on where they're pulling the water from, they could be pulling sources.
Mhm.
So it's, if they're using public water, then yeah, you know, then obviously with the utilities, we need to know. If they're using some geothermal, there's, you know, not necessarily any impact to one of the, you know, one our utility.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I had. Everything else was covered.
I was reading the shed in houses. Talks about the ground surface to the height of solar.
Oh, did
Oh.
I change that? My bad.
Oh, okay. I thought they were gonna require them
No,
to, okay, well, that brings another question up. What about, talked about
Net power.
net power?
yeah,
Is that, we address any of that?
it's implied in the grid impact study. Applicants must submit an independent grid impact analysis verifying the local electricity utility providing the facility load will not degrade local power reliability. I don't know. I mean, we could say has to have a capacity. This is where I got stuck similar to what I did with the solar. I got stuck with, you know, we don't want to use megawatts or we don't want to use an actual number. Do we use percentage? And, you know, to make sure they don't use up the capacity of the power.
Dawn and myself, I think we're going to, we're saying.
Well, you wanted them to be a net generator. We would add that. I didn't add that, but if you want them to be a net.
I think they should be.
Net, or do you want them to be a net generator or neutral?
Yeah.
Well, neutral, fine, I guess.
I'm putting that in.
Net generator.
Net generator, so they have to be
Well,
plus.
like I say that, this was recent of yesterday today. One of the big developers of this whole technology is committing to being net generators. Taking care of that issue. So if they're gonna do data center, they're gonna provide power to the grid beyond what they need.
Okay.
So this is a, sure, I use that house, that may be wrong.
I think that's fine, even if it's 1 watt, they're generating more power.
And that takes care of the issue.
Then there's no capacity, right? There's no capacity. Whatever they generate, whatever they're gonna use the power, they have to generate more.
I think
That way they don't impact us at all.
I like
We
it.
got now. You know, take it. Otherwise, I could see how they could finagle around. And give them percentages and all that.
Right, that's the problem with when you start putting
And
percentages.
they'll work as a utility and I already don't trust them, so.
I know.
2 boxes in the head house is not
I'm in
good.
favor of,
Okay.
I don't want to put a number to it.
Well, I think just net positive, then they're not gonna be an impact, like Don said, it's like, they're gonna at least generate a lot. Even if it's not a lot, maybe they do more than that and they can sell it to the grid, great, but they're not going to use any, and they're not gonna use up the capacity
At all.
of that line or of that circle, so. It's gonna be a net zero.
What if we made them neutral and just even connected?
Like
They probably have to, because there's times when those.
I'm a proponent of them contributing to the grid.
Is that?
I'm a proponent of them contributing.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity, any municipality. And across the country, there are plants being built that are doing that. So, I mean, our bills are high enough as it is. So if you're gonna have the plant president get a benefit out, obviously coming down. And that's just, we're at that.
That's it.
That's it.
I was wondering if we should have something in it that if they decide to just go bye-bye, that they're gonna take care of the stuff in the building that might stay here and be detrimental.
Like a decommissioning.
That's like the
Yeah,
same.
We have the same thing.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
so you
what I
want
was-
something similar?
something
Okay.
like that, yeah,
Okay, that's easy, and the town would hold whatever the requirement was.
exactly. That they pay for it and do it. No, I think that's it, thank you.
Okay, you may comment very, but like the solar, we limited to 6. Is there a limitation?
based on the area in the industrial, I don't think they can have more than two,
We don't have a lot of industrial zone.
maybe three. It's, I mean, if you add up the acreage, I don't think you can even do three, would be like the max.
Well, let's say two,
And I'm not even sure you can do two. Because the west side of the industrial is really kind of narrow. But so we can, I mean, we could limit it to
that's good
two,
enough.
that's fine.
Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, the number's fine. I thought I agree with Greg. I think that is going to be self-limiting as far as what's available out there.
So pick a number, what do we,
Two would be fine.
two's fine?
Yeah, I don't think we would even have the resources to doing two, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But, there's three things. First one I was gonna say is, should the definition, is there any issues with the definition not being the same exact definition that's in the moratorium?
Over dated then.
Yeah, there's similar, but not exactly. One of the moratorium says, data center shall mean a facility which may be a freestanding structure or facility within a larger structure that primarily contains electronic equipment used to process, store, and transmit digital information that uses environmental control equipment to maintain the proper conditions for the operation of electronic equipment. And that's different than the state debt.
I didn't call all the words, but could that be defined as a call center? Or a telephone center, or
I would think so.
a spectrum center?
Yeah, you would think so.
Hmm.
Yeah, especially like those old TNT ones that were all over the country for, nuclear war. And then the only thing that isn't in here that you probably, I can see someone on the council wanting to address would be lighting, with light pollution. Some, language of that. And then I would put in the language that allows you to, request information at any time and giving them a certain period of time to get you that information in there somewhere, just in case you guys have a little bit more flexibility. If you start hearing there's still things that are, or that I could say probably with code enforcement.
We have an issue then.
That would be enforcement, not planning board, I
Yeah,
think.
that's enforcement,
Yeah,
that gets tricky for us. I mean, we just put in the ordinance that,
Would that be under the administrative review?
it could be. That was kind of why we,
Like giving them, that they would have to get notice, right?
yeah. I mean,
what kind of
this-
information do you think? I'm just curious why.
You might want to then, you would probably want to, audit electrical use if you were having a net positive requirement. I can think of tons of different things, but water
Okay.
temperatures that go into the ground.
I mean, there is an annual review, the conditional use permit shall be subject to annual administrative review to confirm ongoing compliance with the wastewater and environmental veg. That maybe.
Maybe add a little line and any other factors that might
Exactly.
facilitate necessity.
Okay, I mean, the penalties, I think that's something I probably should make sure to highlight, violations of this ordinance will result in fines of $1,000 per day per infraction. Yes. I just wanted to be.
It would
clear.
up it to 10 and really make the town some money.
It's like,
That's
Just to
really
be
not a lot of
clear.
money.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like $1,000, it's like $10.
There you go, that's true.
Aaron, you want to?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I got a question.
Don?
Is this something that would qualify for a TIF or would get any taxes?
I don't think so because there's no subsidies for it through the state.
In the state, and right now, the town I would hope the town would offer that tip,
Yeah.
but they could, that's up to the town.
If the
That's
state
not-
changes it at some
If the state
point,
requires it, that's the state drove the solar.
right?
They drove solar into all the towns by lowering the tax rate that they pay by some crazy percentage. So they don't pay almost any property taxes. So they made it a great advantage for them to put it in, and the town gets next to nothing for it. But
Do we have any idea number of people that they would employ other than construction?
very few.
That's
Yeah.
These data centers, I mean, other than security, and, you know, routine maintenance, things like that, there's not a lot of employment. So you're not talking, it's information. The goal is to run with 0 people.
There's not a whole lot of benefits now. Taxes. maybe.
Taxes would be it. And again, that's why we're trying to put something to make it so that they're not everywhere and that they're limited to a small amount of space. You know, we have to allow them, but we can make it as
Difficult.
advantageous, as advantageous to us as possible.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I asked a little bit, I asked Mark, I think I asked Don and Mark was here, we asked about taxes. And they would be taxed at a pretty good rate, because it is, you know, there is no break that we know of. So they'd be taxed, you know, just like a regular, you know, regular type of, a business. And it's probably hard to generate how much money they generate. So it might be hard to kind of figure it out, but they're taxed by the square foot. And if this building is 65 feet tall and 20 acres across, the square footage alone is going to be as big as all of our commercial in town. So the taxes would be pretty substantial.
Any other input or questions? Go ahead, read it again.
If with the screening buffer, and it's implied that it has to be a landscape buffer.
The visitor.
Right, but so can they native, if it's a forested property right now, can we leave that?
That's what we want.
But that wouldn't be the evergreen.
They have to plant, they leave it alone, except they have to plant.
If it's
And
not already there.
We did that specifically because there are some harbor bridges.
Well,
For the
that's
solar, and we said we want them to plant evergreens. No,
There's some areas that, you know, they're not conducive, sandy soils for pine trees are.
and that's why there's a survival, that's why there's a survival policy,
Okay.
to say, if they die, plant again, and they gotta be 5 feet tall, not little 1-inch seedling.
Well, that can put this probably be two different ones.
Well, I removed that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm removing that out of section 1, I'm just removing that, that's number 3.
And another quick last question is, under 5, the substations. We talked about a opaque masonry wall and perimeter landscape buffer. Aren't those usually screened with chain link for security purposes or visual requirements? All CMP substations are all chain link fenced.
Correct.
You know, there's nothing screening or hiding.
Okay. I won't be surprised if electrical rotation, but I don't know.
On the topic of security. Once you were pointing out some of them, like the razor wire and all that, are there gonna be, you know, perimeter roads that they would wanna be, you know, making any sort of road that they're driving around to keep an eye on the fencing and things like that? That might be something to think about. I mean, the buffers and all that stuff, but depending on where they put fencing, and they're gonna wanna be able to check the fencing pretty easily, yeah, effectively. So that might be something to think about as far as that goes. And if they want to sort of a lookout tower, would that have to be within that 65 feet?
Yeah, they can't go above 65 feet, period. Not like they do over 65 feet. The only one exempt from that is CMP, when they put in, to see the.
Or like
No, they have to get a variance. So you're limited to that height, it's a structure.
Yeah.
That's smart about that, but the ground is the ground. So if it goes, you know, if you're on the top of Mount Pisgah, you put something, you can't put it 65 feet tall there, but you could go 50, something like that in rural zone.
And what about, would it fall under anything for us to put anything in as far as underground? Like what they might be putting underground besides geothermal?
And that's, and that,
or
yeah,
something
Benny made a
similar?
good point of when we have the remediation, they'll have to tell us what's underground. But just like solar, we make them rip everything out.
Right,
So, and that's why they give us money to hold, so that if they go defunct and disappear,
right.
we have the town has money to go rip all that stuff up, and now we're laying.
Would there be anything where
They
we?
can't put anything environmentally hazardous by any means, they have to tell us all that.
Mhm.
But if they're putting cabling or if they're putting some type of
Any
a,
tunnel
anything, they would have to tell us all that. They have to give us plans of the building, they have to give us plans, they're like, oh, we're gonna go down, 1,000 feet and build this thing like a giant underground.
Do we have any
skyscraper.
restrictions?
No, we don't.
Under,
Not that I know of. And I mean, from a town perspective, I don't think we would care. I mean, we have to look at the environmental compliance, possible impacts, groundwater, things like that. You know, but visually, if we can't see it. I don't know, that's a good question, but we will have to review the plan when this one comes in. But yeah, well, I mean, that's the hard part is we're only gonna have two at mobile. And, you know,
The good thing is that we're developing some boilerplate and direction and expectations that we don't have currently.
right, and if somebody was gonna build a building that was 500 feet underground, we're gonna do. I know I would be, as a board member, be asking them to do groundwater protection, groundwater monitoring. And, you know, actually routine sampling to say, is there anything leaching out of it?
Yeah.
Similar to what the requirements are for like a, landfill. Well, landfills are clay line, they're required to monitor, and they have to monitor groundwater wells, that routine sampling for any kind of effluent, they have to monitor local streams to say anything emerging. So it'd be the same kind of, I think, aligned, and then they were going into the ground, that will make sure that they weren't contaminated.
I'd imagine there's gotta be state regulation on how deep you can go in the ground and what you could do anyway through the DEP, right?
Below the saturated zone, and then.
There's gotta be something.
Yeah, especially depending on what you're doing.
Just never had it come up,
No, I know, I think about the height, but you don't think about how deep.
right?
Well, usually because you hit bedrock and it's not very cost effective.
Yeah.
The overburden's less than 50 feet.
My nuclear fallout shelter, like, I guess I haven't looked into it.
Any other input on this ordinance? Hearing none.
I think that's great progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got 12 items, 13 items. And I'm gonna try to make these and get them to you for the next meeting. And does everybody sound like all the ideas were good, there were no bad ideas, so I'm just
Yeah.
doing them all.
Can be okay with?
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay.
Good job, Greg.
Okay.
You're headed in the right direction.
Well, yeah, I'll draft this up, change all these things. I need them all correctly. And
What is that word you're not
Take
supposed
that
to use?
off, right.
I like using it correct. Just
For his graduate, professor.
Okay, we're moving on to, residential care facility.
So I was stuck with this one. I started this one, and there are a few residential care type ordinances out there, and I felt like they didn't cover a lot of what I was finding, which was very frustrating, which is defining what is a residential care facility, and that's why I stitched the list and said, it is complicated. I tried to say like, which one of these doesn't exist, and which one of these isn't residential? One of the town councilors, and I brought this up specifically, one of the town councilors talked about one of their children that needed special care. And they could be living with somebody who was providing that care, and that's now a residential care facility. And they wouldn't be able to have that with the moratorium and with some of these requirements. So it's like, this is really a tough topic to be defining.
Say that I don't understand, first off, I understand it's great to have all the descriptions. I don't understand what we're doing a moratorium for. I don't understand what kind of ordinance we're supposed to do.
So from the town council, they were specifically stating, they were concerned that we don't have any nursing homes. We had 2, we're now down to 0. The one that was over by the dump there on, what is it, Old Lewiston Road?
Yeah.
They were potentially gonna turn that into an early release, some type of a drug rehab type early release program. And I think the concern was that, well, we really should make sure we're allowing nursing homes and encouraging nursing homes. We've got an elderly population. Why are we making it so hard for them to put it in a nursing home? We need more of them, not less of them. We have less of them.
But we also need drug programs to make people not drug addicts so they could provide to society. So I feel like all of these are necessary things, and us trying to have some sort of control on it is a very scary thing. And my cousin, it lives in town. It's a residential facility technically, and she has a caretaker with her and all that kind of stuff. I feel like, I know that the state also says you can't discriminate, and I'm very cautious about us discriminating against
I think.
all of these people, mental health,
That's
they need it.
exactly why I wanted to have this discussion and not make this work draft until we
Yeah.
have this discussion, because
It makes me very nervous.
but I'm trying to follow what the town council requested from us, which was they want to encourage nursing home, which is the message and I'm not sure how to do that when the definition of nursing home, I mean, there's 3 full pages, there's like 30 of these. And I'm like, I have a lot of trouble distinguishing numbers and limits and trying to put rules around these. I think is going to be very, very hard.
Yeah, we have rules, and that's the thing. I mean, I spent a
But some
lot
of
of years in that business,
Yeah.
and nursing homes is usually seen, I mean, what level are they? Are they level 1, like rehab, what do you want? And it all are a bit different, and the description usually comes from the Department of Public Health. Has the description of what it's about. So if you go into a nursing home and say somebody that's there doesn't belong there, state's going to tell you that real fast. So you've got to, you know, the definition really, you can open it up, but then they're gonna have to do whatever the state allows them to do under the licensure of
The
daycare.
facility.
But yeah, the facility. So I think if we looked into licensure, we might see how they're licensed and what the license definition is. So because that's what it would be in the end. Is what the license says.
Which is state,
Hmm.
which is state. State license.
Yes, yes, yes.
Aaron can help us with.
Aaron, go ahead.
That
I'm
was,
not, I'm probably not gonna be able to help you, I was not in favor of any of this either. Because I mean, we went through this with the old Winthrop Manor, right? State pretty much said you cannot discriminate, so I don't think that the moratorium would hold weight anyways, but, I think I can only speak to what I heard initially is I think they were looking, and the concern being general assistance and the burden there and the lack of nursing facilities for the elderly or physically disabled. But I think they were looking at like a zoning way out of it. That was the only thing that in the previous issue with the former mayor was that they said the only way you could not discriminate is by having specific zoning rules that limit certain facilities. So you might be saying like, you would pick one of these, maybe like rehab for substance abuse facility would be a zone for this area in particular, and it would cut out the old heritage. That's my take on what they were hoping you guys would be able to do, because I don't think we can make an ordinance that would discriminate or prohibit any of these. I think these are all protected classes.
that's exactly the thought. I thought we're not allowed to deny any. And I was struggling with, that's why I showed you all the definitions, because I was really.
Can you put some stipulations in there?
Like the amount of residents.
Amount of residents, supervision.
I mean, there already are
There's one
rules
down
for
there.
that, like we did remember we did the alcohol abuse place that's on, yeah. Like they had regulations
I think
of,
those were, yeah, I think you're right, boy. I think what Betty said, maybe we just lean into the state's guidance, say, if you're tier whatever, you're allowed to have so many patients and you have to have
That's
so many.
exactly right. We
So-
built it so big.
Yeah,
So many, you have
and I
to.
looked a little bit, I gotta say, the state webpage is freaking awful. Just freaking awful. I mean, it was.
What a
it was
surprise.
more confusing than an insurance company. It was.
They
really-
wanted that way.
It was really, really hard to gravitate and to get definitions and to find information. I do a lot of web searches and they made it crazy hard to find information is what I was looking for. So I originally started with the state and then moved away. I was so frustrated. And then I just kept finding all these terms and was just, but I'll go back and try to take another look at the state and see if they do have the tiers. That would be a good way to basically regulate,
Well, the other
but
thing
then
is-
we have to, I think we have to come to, okay, that's step one. We have to step 2, 3, and 4 here, which is, okay, we can't discriminate, means we have to allow everything. Are we gonna tell them what zone they can be in?
I think that's a discrimination. If you say you can have nursing homes or memory care here, but you can't have rehabilitation or autistic people in this zone, like that's discriminating. So I think I don't think, yeah, I don't know.
Can we stipulate supervision?
I don't.
They've gotta have some kind of training.
There is on the state already, I
I
think.
think the state would.
That's the state.
I would think.
Didn't have much down here.
Well, yeah, right to the state.
Yeah.
Learned it on the job.
Well, I guess, back to Aaron's point, and
That's
listening to the council with this, it's not as the moratorium was built around the money. Well, the budget, basically. And if they come up with a way to limit that, do they have the right to limit that? Are they exposed?
I doubt it.
I
I said, I doubt that there's,
don't think so either, and two, from a looking standpoint, I'm not sure how much latitude we have to do that. So I guess the suggestion is that we'll finish up the invoices, any other specific input that Greg needs. And ask Greg to go ahead and do that further research on, with the state and, what they have to say. And then from there, make a decision whether we need to go back to council and say, okay, we're in quandary and we're at a roadblock or stop. Then we need, you can understand what you want, because all said and done, the council's got to move.
Rick, you could probably even go and have Anthony inquire with the town attorney and say, what, is there even a road or path? And
Why
that
do
way
we
you
want
would
to
be
do
able to
it?
come to us and say,
I don't think we want to. I think the town council brought it up.
They want.
Can I say one thing I think that we could try to look into? How do we help these facilities once they're in their town? How do we form a relationship with them and work with them? And maybe that's a nice way to make sure that it works well for our town.
Not making it super restrictive, looking at tax incentives to get them started and to get them to stay. Those are options, those are things
Yeah.
the town to use. I mean, and also possibly the enabling them to, we can't enable them to get licensing, but enable them to build or rebuild an existing facility. So
Yeah.
grandfather, we change it so it's grandfathers for 20 years instead of 2.
Yeah,
And things like that, so they could reoccupy an existing, I mean, I think there's only, what, two historical ones in town really anyway.
Mhm.
And I think one thing, like, I think Don touched on it, or one of you did. I think one thing we do is like, if the facility is less than 5 or something like that, we just eliminate it. Like, just like we do for solar, if you're generating solar for your own house, there's no factor, you don't
Right.
even have to go.
Yeah.
If you're a care facility of less than 5, 4 or less, you just don't even, this doesn't apply to you at all.
Mhm.
Like, none of this applies to you. Just like solar, sort of like, this is considered a family size and there is no oversight. Is that?
I don't think they do.
see, that's the other thing too, because you do, sorry, go ahead.
I would argue that when this issue came up, whether we have plenty of house, this town, that could easily house the numbers you're talking about. And I don't think they even have to come to us, okay?
That's, yeah.
And that's what they.
But, and I think that was the point that one of the councils was making is they said, the way that the moratorium was written, if you have a single person that is required state and they get state aid, they are now a regulated facility, and that's not what we want to do, I think.
Mhm.
So, does any other report for Greg? Maybe we should have a discussion.
No, I was just gonna say, like, sometimes group homes for people with autism or special needs will be like, it could be 6 to 8 people in a house. We certainly wouldn't want to regulate.
Okay, listen.
What about the administrative costs? Did add town's administrative costs when this facility came in, I understand. Okay, also general, all the system stuff.
Well, they all said and done, it's got to fall back on jobs.
That's a bit different,
Yeah,
totally different supply of people.
And I guess we need to keep on eye on, I think we do, we need to keep we need to keep in mind that there's like some portion of this in our offices and the rest of it is somebody else's responsibility. Not to shirk off, but I mean, that's the division of what we do and what we don't do. Any other input over here? Steve?
I think, the key to cracking this nut is to talk about, I don't see listed on here what the purpose is. What is our intention for developing that? As is indicated clearly in the data center. And the other thing is, I think it is true, I'd be concerned about the discrimination thing, but I do think we have some control on the numbers of occupants in one facility. And that's, I was working in a group home in
Yeah,
Portland,
like the size.
and the consent decree came down, and there was 36 people living there. The consent decree forced Footwell to break them out and have one warehousing people in this one facility and put them in 2, 6, or 8 person dwellings. And I think that is, there's precedent there, and I think that might inform how we construct this, but differently.
So is that a resource? What you just described, is that an available resource?
It is a precedent, right? The consent decree that came down in the early 80s, where they were forced to stop warehousing people at Pineland, various handicaps, and kind of integrate people into the communities.
Well, that's absolutely true. They want to integrate it. The thing of it is it's not by person. The amount, when you build the building, you have to build the building according to specs. So many feet for this room, so many feet for that room, so many feet between beds, so many feet in the bedroom. It is that restricted to build one. So we don't have to worry about that because it's not going to be something we choose or don't choose. If they say we want to build the building, they don't have to tell us how many people, they have to tell us the size. Because the size is good as that. And what you have, how you have the rooms and other stuff is going to make a difference, yeah.
That's for all these facilities or nursing homes or what? These specifications, are they for?
Well, different sizes, no, facilities for beyond that are old, like we're involved in. But when you build a new facility,
Right.
there are specs for every.
Then for rehab,
Every,
nursing homes.
oh yeah, they tell you how many feet here, how
For
many
each
feet.
type of facility.
Absolutely. Yep,
That's interesting.
so they control it completely.
This is the state.
So if you think of those terms, we have currently
Let's see.
previous nursing home moved to a rehab.
Trouble finding.
Okay, so the,
All these specifications you're talking about.
I know it because I work with it.
But you must know where all this data resides. Can you
So I
find that?
could find specifications for like nursing
Try
home. And I could find specifications for specific types of facilities. But I don't
Thankfully,
think
no.
That was my problem. I got stuck with 30 different.
Huh?
And then 2/3 of these are not in the state guidelines. They're not regulated. Or at least I couldn't find they're regulated.
Well,
I'm trying to, how do you differentiate between a rehab center, a nursing home?
We can ask.
You know,
If anybody wants to say
assisted living,
anything.
all these different types of facilities. I was really struggling with like, what do you call it? And that really.
We're good.
Well, when you call it a specific type of facility, the state did regulate it and there was information about that, but they didn't have 30 different titles. They had a good one. And I don't know how they
Well,
lumped
it's some
those together.
us wanting to build a nursing, okay? And, they want to build in a certain size on a certain piece of land. We deal with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
fit here and fit there. Beyond that, it doesn't affect, we can't do anything. We can't tell them, oh, you can only have men on this side of the room and women. That's still, you're done. After you say, okay, the land's okay, you're okay. I mean, you've got your road in, that's good. We're done. That is it. It's their problem. worry about, I think, to worry about the residents and what they're gonna tolerate.
I agree. I think Stephen just hit the nail on the head to me. I'm struggling with this because I don't think I have a clear purpose. I'm struggling to
100%.
know
Whatever you
what the
look at
purpose
is
is.
different.
Well, the problem is, I don't think we got a clear purpose from the town council.
Right.
We didn't get, there's not a black and white, this is why we're doing it. And I'm concerned that what we can do and what we can't do is, and again, I was just struggling with even the definitions. I'm just trying to put it down for, what are we trying to do here? Where the data centers were very clear, like we want to put in limitations and requirements on what a data center is going to be able to do. This is very nebulous to me because they brought up the issue of the former rehab / nursing home.
That is very different.
And it just was, that was their example and it just doesn't fit well, so.
Aaron,
So I'm just gonna give, again, some more kind of ideas of where these type of discussions had been, occurred before. So most recently, I think the one I watched was, the Augusta Planning Board was dealing with a 20-bed low barrier homeless shelter at 16 East Chestnut Street, which is up in a neighborhood behind the old hospital. And they put in a moratorium, I believe, for that. How they got there, I have no idea, like definitions, zoning. I think it was a very long, like, meetings and there were multiple of them. So I couldn't stay out to watch them basically, but I know there's been some articles written on that. And then as far as like the definitions, I think where we get into problems is like the state will say, well, yeah, the municipalities have home rule and can regulate, but you can't discriminate, right? So, well, that doesn't really help you, right? But if I can guarantee tomorrow, if someone proposed a homeless shelter in a certain part of town, we would be. Exactly.
Not my backyarders.
So, it's not easy. I don't know much direction to give you, to be honest with you. I didn't want to open this can of worms, when I came to the council. I understand, but there are a lot of heavy feelings on it. So I would look maybe at the discussion that Augusta had and dealing with that and how they kind of, what they came up with.
The licensure on that would be different though.
What's that?
That's a totally different licensure.
Right,
So
right.
they all have their own little licenses.
Mhm.
And that makes it difficult to look them up.
Yeah, sure. So whether that means you have to do multiple things or not, I don't know. I don't know if you answers.
I was just gonna suggest that maybe we could collaborate on trying to come up with the next draft.
Okay. Let's go another try at it, what do you do? Okay. Benny, you want to be involved? Benny, you want to be involved?
It's fine. I'll dig into the
Oh, I know, you
state.
want involved.
I do, because I'm struggling with the purpose. That's really, I feel like I'm running on yellow. I'm really struggling to get any progress because of just, I'm very black and white and I don't have, we had a facility in Augusta when I lived there, the planning board, it was literally a street up from us. And then Blue Willow was trying to put in this rehab facility and everybody, all the neighbors were up in arms. And I wasn't up in arms. I said, they say it's reasonable to be there. The problem I had was they were violating all the parking rules. So I said, they can't do that. I'm like, they can't, their parking is way off. And I'm like, you can't fit that many cars there. It'll be impossible for the city and the town to plow. You have no place to put snow. You're already at like 80, the building is already at like the building's 80% impervious. I'm like, you can't, this is ridiculous. You're gonna destroy the environment. Even though it's in town.
That we would invest in.
Right, yeah, that's what we use when somebody came to us, not the type of facility, it's the, are they following our ordinance? That piece of it I got, but we already have all those rules.
I know.
We don't need those rules, so that's why I'm struggling with this. I'm like, we have those rules. With a conditional use permit, we already have those requirements.
I
So
think that's,
it's hard to wrap my head around this, I'm trying.
I don't think that we should. I don't agree with the moratorium, first of all. The moratorium is something that, I can't even imagine why. I mean, well, even if it's your grandmother, right? You know, me, I mean, the thing of it is that they didn't. This control, you can go to the state and say, I was screaming at place last night. They call, you people call all the wonders of the those cars running under these too fast. Oh, my God, yes. Oh, my God. You can't believe the complaints people make.
Right. Just a general question, can these be regulated through zoning? It sounds like they're popping up in residential areas.
They are, and as a business too.
So I think we should have done.
Yeah.
So many people are
We
more.
can limit it to commercial, and then as soon as you hit, well, no matter whether they're in the rural zone, whether they're, whatever zone they're in, you can't build it in residential. Right, you can't. Even limited residential, you really couldn't build, you couldn't build a new one. Those are both gonna be excluded. Now,
I've heard, there are 2 to 4, adults living in a building, does that meet the residential requirements?
The group homes for special needs, 100% are regular houses all the time.
well, I'm saying they
Yep.
already have a regular house and they moved it to commercial, but okay, regardless of whether they can build, maybe I should separate maybe. When we have right now in our ordinance for small, medium and large businesses, which is what this is going to be, because somebody's getting paid to do this. So it's small, medium or large business, those are regulated by our ordinances already.
They're not always paid, you can still have, it would be considered, I'm trying to think.
Commercial can be nonprofit too, so it doesn't have.
Yeah, but I don't think that they need to be called commercial. Like, for example, my own family, they own the house. She has 24-hour care there.
That's.
Group homes as well, same thing. But no, it's through the state too. That's
Is it
not
through the
private
state?
care. Yeah.
Yeah.
Care through the state. She used to live in a group home in Winthrop too, where there was like 6 different girls and they had full-time care that was there. It was a care facility, but it's a residential house.
They're getting paid.
It's not
The state is paying that.
But it's still their residence. It's not, I can't imagine it's considered a commercial.
Foster home for the cares. And it is protected by the Federal Fair Housing Act. Whatever. Then there's also a second definition for that as drops down as single family use.
Mhm.
So there's no like.
So nothing, you're not gonna be able to sell on the way out.
Or what if you have 6 foster kids? Whoops.
Yeah, let's take it really again.
Yeah.
This is on the whole point. If somebody came,
Yeah,
if you know, whether,
Sorry.
if somebody came in and wanted to make heritage and create long-term facility / mental rehab, what's the word?
psychiatric hospital?
No. It's a nursing home, but it's. for-
Oh, memory care.
Memory care.
Yeah.
Memory care. You would probably jump through hoops. Right, do that. How is that? 2, it's got a couple of purposes that were near and dear. A lot of people spoke about it. And we would jump through hoops to get that approved. Whatever needs to be done, get that done, I guarantee you. That's why they're. So the issue with that is, in that case, the state would be paying, and the private funds would be paying for it. The issue we have is the burden on the town's budget relative to rehabilitation, 1, 2, location, and the perception of those issues associated with it. Those are the 2 issues that this town has, or the council has, going forward with, or depending again for limiting, bringing in that kind of stuff. That said, there's another one we don't even talk about, right up on Mill Road. Been there forever. Been there forever, and not been an issue, and it's doing the same work, if not more, than is being done down now. And has been years. Because they would periodically show up at the food pantry, and we give them food, and they're happy. And we approved some expansion on it.
Oh, yeah. They did a huge renovation project,
Yeah.
expanded their beds. They were great. They were great. Yeah.
There's other side of the month. So, I think it's appropriate for Stephen. Greg. You want to be involved, why, to do another try at it. And then from there, if indeed we strike out, it's time to go back to the council and get more direct.
And we could lean into the state heavily, and there's nothing wrong with copying state regs into our ordinance. It seems redundant, but
You know what reference?
yeah, you're referencing the state and
Right.
putting all those pieces together. You're using the same exact verbiage, the same exact pieces. But that's one way to hopefully start to meet the town council's request.
The question, the reason for this is because the council requested us to work on.
That's-
That's why I'm suggesting go back and if we get a room.
Where the holes. Go on.
I think I have an idea in my head of why we've been asking. And, I don't think I think we should talk about it when we meet and use it as a guide. I also think we should cast a broader net in the state of Maine's documentation. There's no reason why during the brainstorming in the early days, we shouldn't look at any state we want to and draw whatever language is helpful to the process and insert it and work on it and shoehorn it into what we've got to deal with.
So what time frame you want
There's not anything to do.
Well, we can
That's
get
what
an
I think
update
too.
next meeting, but let's not discuss it until, we don't put it on the agenda until, we'll give you an update.
Yeah.
But put it on the agenda for a month from now, 2 meetings.
to?
That's
That
it.
agree?
The information, so the hope is we can have you something, some framework or something. I think the data center, I can make these changes and have these for the next
Yeah,
meeting.
that's,
Those are pretty straightforward, I think. Hopefully.
it can probably be more sort of data.
All of them. But, so some of them will take a little bit more words, I think, but yeah, and then I'll reformat it, so all the text is the same format, but, I'll put it in the final draft format. And then for this one, I think, yeah, let's give you an update in 2 weeks. And we'll at least have a conversation or two. Dig into what I can find, and Stephen and Betty get to, and then we'll try to have a call or something, maybe even next Wednesday or something, just to put it in my mind. And say, let's have a talk, see where we're at, what do we want to do, and then we'll give you guys an update. In 2 weeks, we'll give you an update.
Good.
And if we think we're completely at our wits' end, we'll let you know. If we think we've got something that may kind of work as a draft. Again, this is the kind of thing that I feel like we put it together, maybe it's not polished, maybe it's not finished, we put it in front of the council and then say, hey, here's something, we think this is what you were asking for, and you tell us.
Good representation. Okay, so and then on the data center, you're gonna revise that, bring that back.
Yeah,
Next meeting.
next meeting.
That's up here. It strikes me as a public hearing somewhere, fairly soon.
Well, we do public, we have to do public hearings before we send it back to the board, right? Yeah, so we almost could do that.
The next meeting and afterwards.
Yeah, because let me make all these, there's quite a few changes, let me make all those.
I don't think we want to do it the next meeting.
Yeah, let's make all those, make sure we're all good with those updates, and then we'll put the public hearing on the next.
Yep, and that said, the schedule right now with a temporary situation is the first week meeting is workshop. We've done the reverse, workshop, the first meeting. The second meeting of the month is applications and other groups.
Still on the second and fourth weeks.
Yeah, definitely, that doesn't change.
Yeah.
I did dare change
God knows.
that.
Change the data.
But we did change the content. Danny?
They did talk about next meeting that they want to do a site visit. So what time would we be?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Hold that question.
okay.
So I think we're still on a plan for the two.
One more thing.
The two, three, so
Okay, so the only other thing is I still feel like I don't, like we just said, I don't think I understand whoever the folks are on the council. I'm not clear other than the zoning and not wanting homeless shelters. I'm not fully understanding what they're looking for anymore.
tomorrow we.
So I'm wondering,
Skip.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just, some more clarification maybe from the people that are pro. I don't know what they're looking for, and if you could do it, that's all.
I don't think legally it can be on.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the one. One of the council doesn't action for 180 days, so we've got plenty of time. And it can always be, like Rick said, put on as a discussion and to solicit from those who are looking for that action, what it is that they're really looking for.
And ironically, the one that was, looked like in the beginning was more difficult, so is not.
right.
Go ahead.
We're like, sweet data centers.
Yeah, I just wanted to address the elephant in the room. Can you tell us what drove the council to ask us to do this? Was it citizen complaints?
Both concerns, so there was
Due
a,
to the facility down here?
there was a group, that had, I don't remember what they did. Sent out, or I think it was a real estate group that had inquired about heritage. And a group that had made plans to, present the initial packet or inquiry to you for a medical rehab facility. So those that needed Medicaid assisted treatment. So whereas the group home on 133 is a non-medicated treatment sober house. They get treatment in Augusta at another place. This would be a place that county jails, state prison system, hospitals could release individuals who still needed medical management for their withdrawal or management from a substance. So that kind of precipitated the whole thing as far as moratorium, because we felt like, or they felt like at the time when we were having discussions that we really didn't have anything on the books as far as zoning, that we never really fully developed a plan from the previous episode with the manor. So I think, and obviously the GA, we had to go and get specific state legislation passed to shield the town from the amount of money that was being consumed by the general assistance fund. So we were able to get that, but then we would be in that same boat again, right back at square one, because that's a large facility. The only thing that would have gotten us potentially off the hook from that is if they were in treatment using main care, then they wouldn't have to rely on the general assistance fund. So that was the precipitating factor, I think, in it becoming a moratorium discussion. Then another individual in town had, for some reason, and I had no knowledge as to what may have precipitated that, wanted to turn it back into a nursing home, a long-term care facility. And that is the same, that he wants to do the rentals in the mill. And so that was why we amended the moratorium, because of how broad it is. So right now, if the only thing that's allowed is amended to exclude residential care facilities that exclusively serve senior clients aged 65 and older, hopefully you don't have dementia at 50. Long established use in Winthrop that fill the vital need for elderly residents who wish to age in place. And that was the amended moratorium on, I want to say July, it says January, but I could do that in July. And I went to the town attorney, so somehow we thought that that was kosher, which I did not.
I don't either.
Because
Sounds like discrimination to me.
this moratorium prevent group home from trying to open, whether it's like the Teen Challenge, the Betsy Ross House, the Goodwill houses on Old Lewiston, and on Main Street here, right across over there. I don't think any of those would be able to move forward right now. So I'm not happy about it, but.
Okay, thanks. I just,
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we should, The Industrial Supplement will work on that, give us a report next meeting. And Greg gonna revise and update the data center. And then we can figure out where we want to go from there, to the small hearing and moving that along. Now, relative to Jim, asked the question. Yeah, like, anyway, the next board meeting. You know,
Want me to ask if anybody online has anything to say?
Oh, yeah.
sure. Is there anybody else?
There is one person.
Other than Jake.
Yeah, does anybody online have any wish to comment publicly? You can unmute yourself. The one person.
Do you think maybe anything possible? How do you?
Oh,
You would have,
how do you? Oh, crap. Now I gotta figure it out.
Did the right thing.
We need.
I did, but it didn't do
And then
anything.
just leave it, it takes them to.
Did I just put it on or take it off though?
You just,
You ask him anything.
yeah.
You're watching, right? Sneeze.
Here she is. She's like, stupid Jamie. You can't even unmute somebody.
And
Let's
then
see.
you would just wait for them to answer on there. It's what we did
Okay.
with.
They're on their phone.
Or we could go to chat, see if she's like.
Well, getting something.
All right, I guess we're okay. All right. Sorry,
Nobody wants to say.
get our due diligence.
Anybody online want to talk to us? Hearing none, we'll move on. Bill, I cannot find our copy of the agenda.
Here. For the next meeting or this meeting?
Next meeting.
Oh, my bad, that's not it.
For the next meeting, I don't have,
That's not it at all.
I don't have the agenda for the next meeting yet.
We don't have it yet.
Hasn't been done yet. Yeah.
Yeah, next Friday, it'll be ready.
You good with it?
No, they haven't sent the
Email.
Come out of here.
email thread.
It's here.
Where is
Tonight
it?
you're looking for.
I didn't see any of the,
I had the email.
Oh, here it is. Oh, no, this is the
That's
notice
just the
of
legal
meeting.
notice, yep.
Yeah.
So the site visit be what, 15?
Oh, yeah, it does say 6:15.
Where is that?
Where?
thirty-eight North Eight Lane.
Okay, fine. Anybody know what it is?
Yep.
I think that's by me.
It's a South Shore Blow and Arrows Pond. I live on Cape.
Yeah.
You're on.
It's a South Shore, you know where Manchawana is, access to Manchawana?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Half a mile past that on the left.
Right, okay.
Who's coming to take us people?
Is that where the Mike's Maple, right there on the corner? Yeah, yeah, okay.
6:30.
Mike sure.
Is it okay to, do we have a room to just be there or should?
I think we typically meet here.
Me here.
Yeah, then there in Bucks Rock.
Carpool.
Right here.
That's what we usually do.
Yeah.
I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
Even I-
Was there anything else? I don't remember anything else.
No, I think that was, she just sent that out as a notice to us, saying it's gonna be
So meet here at 6. Carpool over. Or 6:15 walk through and back up.
That's on the 26th.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we're doing,
Big.
since it's just one
That's the only right now.
case?
And of course, there'll be updates from Greg.
More, okay,
Well, we may be doing the public hearing for, if the ordinance is good, the next meeting, we'll do the public ordinance for data centers, public notice for data centers.
in September.
That's what-
We'll do that, no, on the August
Oh,
meeting.
We'll establish it.
Well, we're gonna meet next meeting, if we're good with it, then we'll put it to the public.
well, the next meeting is.
Correct, after that.
yeah, next meeting's 26th, and then we would be in September for the
Yeah, she's,
Correct.
yeah,
public notice.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it'll be in September.
That's not for the.
Yeah, at least it's that, yeah.
So if we're in good shape on the data center, we'll have the public hearing, that first meeting. Okay. I think that's all on that agenda, was the draft agenda.
She has one more. She's waiting on a little info for Isabel, so you might have two applications next meeting. They have till the end of the week.
Yeah, we don't-
It's Upper Narrows. They're doing a 12 by 12 cedar deck.
Yeah.
That's-
That's that one. Okay, so there's one more and I can't remember off the top. Yes, there's one more and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Yes. Hmm.
38. 89.
Yes.
Banner School.
Yeah, right? Yes.
So we'll have no time to go.
Have to keep it, we could keep it short. I mean, if one's a deck and then one is something small, no problem to do. And in Upper Narrows, really, the road's not very long, so you can't go too far. Upper Narrows. Upper Narrows.
I can get along.
Can you?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I got lost, I know I can.
Well, yeah, those roads spoke a little bit.
I think that's it on the agenda for next meeting, and it's development now, other than that. Second one. That it should be easy enough to get that out. For that meeting. Any other business from Kevin Lane? Stephen? Wait, yeah. Please.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
Wow.
I'll get a vote for adjournment.
So moved.
Stephen moved.
Okay.
Greg seconded.
I like to third that one.
All in favor?
That's okay. Don't leave yet.
Taylor, that, Dr. David.
Okay.
I want to make sure you had that.
I do.